Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terrorist Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And I'm here to give y'all motherfucking power back, because y'all need to know who the fuck y'all are inside this little motherfucking body that you think you want to claim. You need to know who the fuck you are. You see what I'm saying? Now, this aspect right here precedes God's, as in the lower natures. But let's break this down. This video right here is about the elements, the gods, and religion, which is a legion, which is a group of gods who agree to a term and conditions, aka make a pact, aka agree on something upon something, aka, you know what I'm saying, Mount Hermon. You see what I'm saying? So we're gonna get to this motherfucking shit though. But check this out, right? This is what you need to understand, and I don't understand why humans are so lost and things of that nature, right? When we talk about religion, religion is about astrology. Every religion and astrology is about the body we are in. So for the most part, when you think about astrology, it is understanding the space and the location we are in. So how is time derived? Time is derived from calculating a shape and form, expansion and contraction period. So, you know, when you see a shape and form, you know is on its way to expire. So the calculation of a shape and form is what creates time, right? So for the most part, a shape and form could be a body. You know what I'm saying? Could be anything, long as it's a creation. So check this out, right? Now, let's say we go to the oldest religion, right? The oldest religion will be what? Hinduism, right? So Hinduism, if I told you, keep this in mind, if I told you every religion is about astrology, then you need to know the older the religion, the older the star. So right here, if we talking about Hinduism, they are describing the being from that star. So for the most part, since it's older, it will be a bigger star. So for the most part, they are calculating the time from a universal type being. So for the most part, when you get scientists and things of that nature saying the universe was created in 14 billion years or something like that, for the most part, what you need to understand is that ain't nothing new. That's how old Brahma is supposed to live. So Brahma would be the universal being. You see what I'm saying? Then the religion that came after that will be the explaining of the time of the being that stayed within Brahma. Then the religion that came after that is the understanding the time and the alignment of the being that stayed within that. All the way until you get to this goddamn Lucifer light bearer constellation. And then you get to your Christian Bible, and then that's telling us the calculation of our time. This is why your God created the 24-hour spectrum time. So it's telling us how long this being is going to live. So, you know what I'm saying? A day to you, a day to this being that we live in is a year to you. The same way as your blood cells. A day to you will be a year to your blood cells. So then you start to calculate and add time. Then that's how we calculate how long this light bearer or Lucifer constellation is going to survive. And then you go to an older religion that let you know that the bubble that Lucifer is in, how long is that one is going to survive. You see what I'm saying? So I don't understand why people get things confused and things of that nature, but that's what you clearly need to understand. So when we're talking about every religion, I don't give a fuck which one it is. Archangel Uriel going to tell you that it was in some goddamn pieces of water. You know what I'm saying? Archangel Uriel going to tell you it was in some goddamn primordial waters. And if you want to debate that, that's up to you. Now, for the most part. Now, what is the primordial waters? Every time they talk about primordial waters, it is talking about the realm of imagination. This is the rainbow waters. I like to call it that. So it's talking about the realm of all creation, the realm of foreverness, the realm of all things that could come into fruition. Now, this is the goddamn water element. So you need to understand that's anytime you dive within yourself and you hone in on something. So this is a good segue into what I'm finna break down as far as the elements and us as being gods, where we all have attributes of creating, because we created the elements. We created what matter. You see what I'm saying? And for the people who want to say, oh, what about plasma or ether, things of that nature? These are the accumulation of things. Plasma is a higher frequency of like electricity, and electricity is just a higher frequency vibration of motherfucking fire. So that's the same fucking family. They're not actually even separate. You see what I'm saying? And when you talk about ethers or things of that nature, or this is just the accumulation of a mixture of fire, water, air, and earth coming together as a mixture and creating a platform, which is what y'all would call the ethers. So for the most part, this is like it creates a net for these things to take different shapes and forms and different ways in. So that's what you need to understand. So when we're talking about the actual elements, you as a now you need to know all these religions, even going back to the first one, you need to know it was in some form of water. So if something was in some form of water, it was already soaking in its own imagination already. So this is what you need to understand, right? This is after the fact. Everything is after the fact. And if you follow in one specific spirit, you live within that body, within that world, within that imagination. So you can only be an offspring or a mini version of that being, because you are a spirit that followed that being in that space. And since that being was in that space before you, it has more experience, more wisdom. So aka the expansion and contraction going to make this a bigger being. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to live within that being. This is what all things is trying to tell you. You live within a star because you are a star. You live within a cell because you are a cell. You see what I'm saying? You live within a being because you are a being. You live within a universe because you are a universe. You see what I'm saying? So don't let this slip your goddamn mind. And when once we start to break this down, we're gonna get everybody a clear understanding on how to separate what the fuck the overall God is and what the fuck these motherfucking deities, these lower spirits that's creating their own realms are. So when we talk about this universe, right, you can start that off with Brahma or this, that, and third with the Vishnu spirit and things of that nature. Now what you need to understand, I'm going to show you as spirits of what we're all actually doing. So as a spirit, you are no thing, no shape and form. You just have a state of being. So you're just being, right? And since you have a lot of different angles and beings next to you, this by default creates other beings, other individuals, because the space is not a part of your space. Wherever you're at, wherever your state of being at, is not going to be in the same state of being is a few spaces over. So y'all perception towards the center ocean or body of water or current, which is a star, that right there is what y'all going to be actually having your own perception towards. But based upon your own state of being, that's what you're going to resonate with. So based upon a group of bubbles that's around you, aka other state of beings, you're going to resonate with them and be relative and rotate around them to the point that they can become relatives in whatever dimension that y'all create for yourselves. But for the most part, y'all just resonating with each other. So for the most part, whatever realm that y'all go into, it creates familiarity. And that familiarity itself can create physical representations, like blood, having the same blood, having the same, living in the same location, creating the kind of same bodies, shapes and forms, like bodies. You know what I'm saying? To the point y'all all look like a kind. You see what I'm saying? It goes deep. You know what I'm saying? When we're talking to this is how you get in different species and everything. Now, for the most part, here's what you need to understand. As a spirit, you're no thing, no shape and form. So your ability to imagine, your ability to have an intuition, your ability to have a fire. This is fire in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. Your ability to have temperament. And that temperament cause slight movement, but that temperament cause a color. And that color allows you, it's like a transforming color, which y'all will call red today, but I'm not coming down to 3D right now for y'all. Now, for the most part, with this shift, you're able to have an awareness of a certain movement. Now, this certain movement creates imaginations, because once a picture has movement, now it actually has an image turns into an imagination. So once the temperament start to revolve, it becomes what y'all want to call as plasma, electricity, or fire, or spark, or whatever like that. So that spark is very light, very fast. Now your ability to absorb yourself within that spark. You see what I'm saying? So that's what fire is in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. It's that spark, that imagination, that passion, that temperament, that ability to be in your state of being, but to start to be aware of a state of being. Therefore, the state of being move, and it is no longer an image. It become an imagery, an imagination, because the shift caused the first vibrational transformation. You see what I'm saying? So that's fire. Now, once you admitting a whole bunch of ideas, a whole bunch of thoughts, a whole bunch of what you're consciously aware of now, once you keep adding that onto it, you're adding more fire, more fire, more fire, more fire, right? Boom. Then it becomes condensed because it's so heavy. So once it's condensed, it becomes heavy, right? And it kind of cools off. Now, this is what y'all want to call as water in this realm of reality. But for the most part, this is what all spirits are doing. So if you hear every religion talking about a being was hovering over the water or in some water first, this is one spirit that have already had an imagination, and now they are soaking in their own imagination and getting ready to start creating out of their imagination. You see what I'm saying? Keep that in mind. But we're all spirits. We're all doing that. Now, check this out. Now, once the being created its waters, aka its imagination to soak in, once it emitted so much imagination, so much light, so much fire, right, that condensed this. Now it has something to soak in, so now that becomes water. So now it goes in within itself. So this is the physical representation that I'm explaining y'all of space going in within space. So y'all just think space is just space, but it's really space within space. That's how you got to your space that you are. And that's how you got birthed as a spirit, your space. No thing, just no shape and form. But whatever state of being that is resonating with based upon other state of beings, y'all could create realms of realities together. This is why attention, wherever attention goes, the energy flows. Because we're creating the energy, right? So whatever we're paying attention to, we're creating that shape and form. We see that every day. Now, once you have already created your oceans, your waters, your imagination, your, like, all that imagination that you was emitting, your fire, that now it condensed itself for you to soak in. Now you went within yourself, right? So that's the subconscious. You submerge yourself within yourself. So now you start to will, your first will. Now this is the water, your first shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable, whatever you want to call it. Now this is your waters, your first current, and things of that nature. So for the most part, this is like where we start to get temperature from temperament, because your first state of awareness was what caused you to move your state of being, which was your imagination. Then your ability to soak in your imagination, things cool off. So that's why the feminine is more correlated to the cold, or water is correlated to more like coldness or darkness, and fire is more correlated to heat, you know what I'm saying, and going forward. So transforming is going forward, it's pushing, that creates fire or heat or temperature, the temperament of heat, and then going into something is concealing something in something, so it's smothering itself into something. So this created the temperature of coldness, or something being cooled off, right? So now you get into two polar shifts of temperatures, and this is the creation of that and things of that nature. Before y'all even get masculine, feminine, and things of that nature, or whatever y'all want to call it. This is a being going within itself. And for y'all get positive, negative, all that shit, it ain't got nothing to do with none of that shit from this stage right here. Now for the and now you should understand this for yourself. Now, once you start to go within yourself, you start to observe your realm. You start to observe your womb, because you created with that water. Once you created your waters, you created a womb. You created a world. You created a womb, a room, something to go into. You see what I'm saying? You went within yourself, so you went within your own womb, right? Now you got to start analyzing what you just went into. So now you about to start coming up with the logic and rationality and observing and being curious about what you have put yourself in. This created the air element. You know what I'm saying? So this is your ability to travel, your ability to communicate, your ability to build a spaceship, your ability to travel within realms of realities, aka have a concept of your state of being. So this concept will be the air element of your state of being, which you have just created from the waters out of your spiritual being, which is the fire, and your spirit had to create that to even go into, to even be aware of itself. You see what I'm saying? So your spirit is no thing, and it's just creating. So you're creating the elements. You created your and I just broke down how you create it based upon your imagination. That's your fire. Your ability to have a lot of imagination. That image turned into an imagination. Now it becomes a waters. You know what I'm saying? Something to go into, condense and soak into, submerge yourself into. And your ability to analyze and construct and make sense out of it. Now you're creating shapes and forms out of it. Now you have a spaceship to actually travel. And the more intellect, the more rationality, the more analyzing you put on it, the more it can become solid and become physical, aka can appear to be as a solid realm of reality. And that's when you start to utilize your earth element. So this is why all y'all ancient gods and shit, they always say created the heavens and the earth, because the heavens will be the water and the fire, and the earth will be the air and the earth. You see what I'm saying? This is why y'all walk amongst the air and the earth, which is really just the physical shape and form of what's being created out of the fires and the waters, which is the fires, imagination, the waters, the ability to soak in that imagination and observe it and create that world out of it, and then your ability to analyze it and construct it, aka make sense, name everything out of it, and then your ability to bring it into a realm of reality. Use the earth element, patience, practicality, nurturing, caring, making sense out of all things you was utilizing the air element with, which was intellect and rationalizing with the actual surroundings and space you was in that you created for yourself out of the waters when you have made a spiritual being out of yourself from your imagination, which is your fire. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, this is where you start to create your world. Now a lot of y'all are follower spirits, so y'all are helping one world create everything of itself. So this is where you get Brahma, and then you get all the lower natures all the way down till we get to Lucifer today. But for the most part, you have this ability, and even though you're following the spirit, so you're mimicking, you're just an image, you're just in a in someone else's image, you're still doing the same thing, because you wouldn't even be able to be like, I'm still me, if you didn't. So even though you was following, you got some of the same mechanics and gear as someone who as a greater spirit that you was following, you still you, and you're still the Brahma of you still the whole universe. There's blood cells in you calculating your whole being as a universal time. Then you got other beings who may just worship the heart and whatever spirit control the heart and all the blood cells that's in the heart and shit like that. And then you got a bunch of them controlling, talking about that motherfucking year and how long that's gonna live, and then how long that's lived, and then it go all the way down to all the living vessels in your motherfucking body. You see what I'm saying? So now when you want to break down in totality, you know what I'm saying, that when you accumulate, you create an ether realm. When you create the fire, the water, the air, and earth out of your spectrum, you create an ether realm, which is your space and your ability to have a space within the overall universal being of whatever universal being you are in at the moment. You see what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. So when you want to look at it like this. Say Brahma is the being I was talking about in my last live stream. The being with the 7 solar systems, right? So this you stay within a being, which is the light bearer, right? So the light bearer constellation, right, is just one solar system. So that solar system is like one of Brahma's low chakras. See, in the world it's just 7 chakras, but for us to understand the kind of power it has, we have to understand that the chakras to us will be a whole solar system. So you know what I'm saying, Lucifer is just one of the solar systems out of this whole totality of being. So this is why it's the first religion here. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the first universal being, and then all the beings that live within it, when y'all get like Jesus Christ and all that shit, all the lower natures and things that came after it, like Muhammad's and all the other shit, you know what I'm saying? But if the Vedas was the first, you need to know that was the first spirit in this space that's ruling this whole space from a 7th, 8th, and 9th dimensional aspect. Then once you start to get the Elohim that come up out of that shit, then that's when you start to get the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional subconscious realm creation. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, we're talking about 7th, 8th, and 9th dimensional beings, which are you. Now, you may have just been born as a spirit, as a space. So yeah, you have to follow wombs, follow your spiritual parents in those spaces and locations to know what resonate with you and what's familiar to you in the overall totality spectrum of whatever this existence is. But for the most part, you know, whatever your existence is in some form of fluid, some form of water. So that's what you need to understand. For the most part, you're always in water. And this is what I want to say also, you know what I'm saying, because you know, I have a lot of teachings, so it's like the FLIGHTZ teachings, and I don't want to really have no blood on my hands, so I don't really want other conscious community teachers and things of that nature, you know, taking my teachings and things of that nature, but want to flip around and turn on me in some way, shape, or form. So I want to get things clear on what I actually teach. So if anytime you hear anybody saying any one of these kind of things that I know for a fact I brought into this community, and this is subconscious community, then I want y'all to understand, you know where they got the shit from. So for the most part, let's talk about the first one, which is living in a person. Y'all know I've been the first person even bringing the correlation between astrology and the body and us living in an actual person. You know, you could get astrologers who kind of understand what astrology is, but they never actually break it down like you're actually living in a person. So for the most part, y'all know I brought that shit into this existence. So and based upon my totality of knowledge and how well I'm able to actually explain it, y'all should know where that actually came from. Sex energy also. And with that anytime you hear somebody talking about the sex energy, and then they try to correlate it like it just ain't got something to do with sex or sexual intercourse, y'all know they got that from me. I was the first person that brought up sex is nothing more, nothing less but the joining of two energies to create another energy in all realms of realities. You know what I'm saying? So y'all know how I break that science down. Y'all know I'm the only one that could go really in depth into that. So anyone who try to make a spoof around that and try to come up with some type of slang around that, you know where the fuck they got it from. The spirit is no thing. The spirit is no shape and form. Y'all know I came up with that also. You know what I'm saying? Even though this ain't something I'm coming up with, everything I'm talking about is everybody's spirit already know. And the whole world is only talking about what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? So y'all have to keep that in mind also. For the most part. Yeah. Your spirit is no thing, no shape and form. Y'all know I brought that. Now, another science I have brought. Up is down and down is up because everything is in reverse. Now, there's been esoteric teachers out there teaching everything was in reverse. But y'all know I brought the full spectrum of going into the extreme of understanding the aspect and the totality we are in. For the most part, when you are standing right in front of a person, right, the person is opposite to you. This is why their right arm will be on your left side. So for the most part, only way you can kind of understand what's actually going on is when you turn your back on something. So you have to turn your back on your own ideas, concepts, theologies, shapes and forms. Even when you looking at the sun and thinking which way the sun is going. Once you turn your back, now you are part of how the sun traveling, and lay yourself flat on wherever grounding that you are on, you will understand the actual travel of things and really understand the totality of that science. So y'all know I brought that. I brought that up. Heaven is below. You know what I'm saying? When y'all think the sun is rising, no, that is the sun coming down to the hell that y'all at underneath the firmament. Y'all in the underworld standing upside down and things of that nature, so y'all are constantly looking down. Y'all know I brought that shit. Come on now. Stars are water currents. Y'all know I brought that shit too. Stars are water currents. So anytime you hear any scientist, any philosopher, or anybody want to start talking about stars as water currents, or body of waters, or rivers, or things of that nature, y'all know they got that shit from me. You know what I'm saying? So once y'all go back into y'all Bibles and y'all hear me say the Bible ain't nothing but the talking about the birth, life, and death of a star. You know what I'm saying? And that's in the Bible is supposed to be the word of that dead star, that star that ascend and teach everybody else how to be motherfucking stars. Y'all need to know where the fuck that came from. The 4 holy rivers, all that shit. Y'all need to come on now. Come on, this motherfucker. Now, Earth is on waters. Yeah, I got a lot of goddamn teachers, don't I? Earth is on water. You know what I'm saying? Water is not on Earth. So scientists who be teaching that bullshit that water traveled here and splashed on here and somehow accumulated and became more powerful than the goddamn Earth that you claim you're walking on is a goddamn lie. Earth is on water, not water is on Earth. That's why when Earth get deteriorated after so many rotations and spirals and shit cave in and sink and get submerged underneath the goddamn water that been goddamn here, that everything got built on. You see what I'm saying? This is why you have to travel over water. Everything ain't traveling over land first, then it get to water. This is why you have to travel over water, motherfucker. Y'all niggas ain't making no goddamn sense. Now, what's another one? Truth is what is not. Truth is what is not. So truth is not. So anytime you find something what is not, that becomes the truth. Truth is not something that's external outside of itself. This is the first lie that men start to utilize their spiritual energy as far as their power to believe. So your power of belief is the power of belief. I came up with that. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, this is everybody's first initial true state of power. You can't find no power ahead of belief. You know what I'm saying? And belief come after all that. So once you believe into your fire that you created, right? Now it can become water. And once you soak into that, now you can start to analyze and construct and make sense out of that shit and create shapes and forms, aka scenarios and circumstances in your 360 in your life for you to experience, aka Earth. Look, this is the truest knowledge you gonna ever get. Everything else could be just offsprings to this shit. I got a group of other shit, but I'm gonna make a separate video for that, and I'm gonna go live tonight because I don't want to sound like I'm getting into my ego, because this knowledge is just for really me and my soul group. Because we've been here and we live many existences and things of that nature, and people gonna try to look at us like we funny. But the moment all this shit start to get discovered slowly but surely, we gonna be the owners of this intellectual property, which really is because you can't go no further back than this. This is no creation. This is something, what I just broke down is something we all do Period. Beyond religion. You know what I'm saying? So I'm giving you your power back to help you understand everything from a clear perspective. So when the world catch up, me and my soul group gonna be the owners of this intellectual property, but there will be no after, because there's no extended external explanation you can get beyond my channel. Period. Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air.